What if I told you that the deadliest wars in human history were not started by hatred, not by ideology, not even by power, but by an invoice, a loan, a calculated financial decision made by men who never once stepped onto a battlefield? Men who funded both sides, collected from both sides, and profited regardless of who won or who died. World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Iraq, every single one followed the money far enough. And you always find the same thing: a banker sitting quietly counting. Stay with me, because the name you are going to hear in the next 6 minutes is one they have spent a century trying to keep you from knowing. The year is 1815. Napoleon Bonaparte and the British Empire are locked in the Battle of Waterloo, the most consequential battle in European history. The outcome will determine which empire controls the continent. The entire London stock market is frozen in fear, waiting. Nobody knows who will win. Nobody, except Nathan Rothschild, because Nathan Rothschild had his own private courier network, faster than any government messenger. He received the news of Napoleon's defeat a full day before the British government did. And what did he do with this information? He walked onto the floor of the London Stock Exchange and he sold aggressively, publicly, convincingly. Panic spread instantly. If Rothschild is selling, Napoleon must have won. Every other investor dumped their holdings in terror. The market collapsed, and then quietly, through agents nobody was watching, Nathan Rothschild bought everything at the bottom for almost nothing. In a single day, he multiplied the Rothschild fortune many times over and established a family that would sit behind the financing of European wars for the next 2 centuries. What Nathan Rothschild discovered at Waterloo was not just a trade, it was a formula, and once a formula works, it gets repeated. War creates fear. Fear collapses markets. Collapsed markets create buying opportunities for those with cash and information. Governments desperate to fund their armies come to the bankers for loans. The banker funds both sides, guaranteeing a return regardless of the outcome. The winning side repays the loan. The losing side's debt gets absorbed or restructured, and the banker who risks soldiers from neither side collects interest from both. This formula was used in the American Civil War. European banking houses financed both the Union and the Confederacy simultaneously. It was used in World War I, where the same banking networks financed Germany, Britain, and France simultaneously. The soldiers changed, the flags changed, the bankers' formula never did. World War I killed 17 million people. It is thought as a war started by the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, a single bullet that somehow set the entire world on fire. But ask yourself a question they never ask in school. How does one assassination in Sarajevo turn into a 4-year global war involving 30 countries and 17 million deaths? The answer is not in the history books, it is in the banking records. JP Morgan, the most powerful American bank of the era, was appointed as the sole purchasing agent of Britain and France and America. Meaning every weapon, every bullet, every supply shipped to the elite forces went through JP Morgan. The bank earned commissions on every single transaction. By the end of the war, JP Morgan had processed over $3 billion in transactions in 1918 money. The longer the war lasted, the more JP Morgan made, and the war lasted 4 years. Now here is the chapter that will make you pause. Before World War II, before Hitler rose to power, the German economy was devastated. Hyperinflation, unemployment, collapse, a broken nation. So how did Germany go from economic ruin in 1933 to the most military powerful nation in Europe by 1939 in just 6 years? The answer is American capital. American banks and corporations poured investment into Germany throughout the 1930s. Standard Oil supplied fuel technology, Ford Motor Companies supplied vehicles and infrastructure. And most documented of all, the Bank for International Settlements, founded by American and European banking interests, continued processing financial transactions for Nazi Germany even after the war had begun. Even after the death camps were known. This was not ignorance. Congressional investigations after the war confirmed these relationships existed. The money trail does not lie, and the money trail leads directly from Wall Street to the Third Reich. After World War II, the world said never again. The United Nations was created, international law was strengthened, peace was promised, but the formula did not stop. It evolved. Vietnam, the war that killed 58,000 Americans and 3 million Vietnamese, was sustained for over a decade by defense contracts worth hundreds of billions of dollars flowing to corporations with direct connections to government officials who voted to continue the war. Iraq 2003, a war started on weapons of mass destruction that never existed, resulted in Halliburton receiving over $39 billion in government contracts. Halliburton's former CEO became Vice President of the United States 1 year before the war began. The weapons changed, the countries changed, the justifications changed, the financial architecture behind every war never changes, because war is not just politics. War is the most profitable business ever invented, and the most powerful business in history have always made sure the business continues. So here is where we stand. Every time a war begins, somewhere quietly a phone call is made, a meeting is held, a loan is approved, a contract is signed. Before the first shot is fired, the financial architecture is already in place. This does not mean every soldier fought for nothing. It does not mean every cause was false. People fight for real reasons: family, country, survival, belief. But above those real reasons, at a level most people never see, there is always a calculation, always a ledger, always someone asking not, is this war just, but is this war profitable? The most powerful anti-war statement you can ever make is not a protest. It is understanding this system so completely that you can never be manipulated by a flag, a fear, or a headline into supporting a war whose true beneficiaries you have never seen and whose names you were never supposed to know. They built the wars, you fought them, you paid for them, you buried the dead, and they collected every single time. Think deeper, see wider, understand the world as one. Thank you.